Very good morning, students. How are you? In the last lecture, we have seen the excretory products and their elimination. Last concept, the role of other excretory organs in excretion and disorders of excretory system and some other additional information. And a few more points are remaining, right? I will continue with that lesson just for 5 minutes, right? You know, kidney and ureter develops from mesoderm, right? And the next point is, you know, arcuate artery found in kidney. It is found in kidney at the border between renal cortex and medulla. Renal cortex and medulla, right? Aldosterone, you know, aldosterone is a steroid hormone produced by the adrenal cortex. Aldosterone is secreted when there is a decrease in BP, and excess dietary intake of potassium. You know, aldosterone hormone secretion is stimulated by the JJA apparatus. The aldosterone promotes the reabsorption of sodium and the secretion of potassium into the renal filtrate. Volume of urine is controlled by ADH, antidiuretic hormone, aldosterone, and length of loop of Henle. Right? And the most important point, you know, vitamin D chemical name is calciferol. The vitamin D is converted into calcitriol. Calcitriol is the hormone. Vitamin D is converted into calcitriol. Calcitriol is the hormone form of vitamin D. It is the hormone form of vitamin D. The vitamin D is converted into calcitriol in the kidney. Very important point. In the kidney, vitamin D is converted into calcitriol. What is the role of the calcitriol? Calcitriol promotes absorption of calcium ions from gastrointestinal tract, means from the gut. It promotes absorption of calcium ions from the gut. You know, this is the objective given in NEET 2019, right? In hemodialysis, why we are referring hemodialysis process to the patient? Because both the kidneys are failed. In hemodialysis process, absorption of calcium ions is decreased. from the gut. What is the reason? The reason is both the kidneys are failed. If the kidneys are failed, there is no conversion of vitamin D into calcitriol. If there is no calcitriol, the absorption of calcium ions from the gastrointestinal tract is affected. So, in hemodialysis process, absorption of calcium ions from the alimentary canal is decreased. I think you understand. Yeah, very important object given recently in NEET examination 2019. Next, in diabetes mellitus. In diabetes mellitus, a person drinks more water. A person drinks more water as there is a urinary loss. As there is a urinary loss of glucose. You know, polydipsia, excessive thirst. Polydipsia is seen in both diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. There is a excessive loss of water. Along with the glucose, more amount of water is going to excrete through the urine. That is the reason why a person drinks more water in diabetes mellitus, as there is a urinary loss of water. And one more important point, when there is an increase, in plasma proteins, which means when the amount of plasma proteins like albumin increases, when the amount of plasma proteins in the blood increases, glomerular filtration rate decreases, GFR rate decreases, glomerular filtration rate decreases. Why? You know, albumin provides or exerts a colloidal osmotic pressure. The colloidal osmotic pressure main aim is to hold water molecules. So, they prevent movement of water molecules. The plasma has more amount of water only. So, the amount of water pumped to the kidney decreases when there is a more amount of proteins in the blood, which leads to decrease in glomerular filtration rate. Yeah, these are the few points from excretory products and their elimination lesson. Please note down these points in that lesson, not in this lesson. This is new topic. Now, we are going to start a new lesson, that is Unit 3, Human Anatomy and Physiology 3. Under this, we will be discussing with the two important systems. One is muscular system and second one is skeletal system, right? Now we are going to discuss about a new lesson, that is musculoskeletal system. Musculoskeletal system. Body movements and posture. Body movement and posture. What is posture? It is a position in which someone holds his body when standing or sitting. Posture is a position. It is a position in which someone holds his body when standing or sitting. Right? There are two important systems. One is a muscular system and second one is a skeletal system. Providing the body right posture, at the same time helps in movement of body parts. Movement is the function of a muscular system. But movement of body parts is the function of a skeletal system. skeletal system, right? So both muscular and skeletal system integrated with each other and providing right posture and also helps in movement of the body parts. Movement of the body parts. Come to muscles. The muscles are of three types: skeletal muscles, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscles. You know, all these muscles can form 40 to 50% of body weight. All these muscles together represents a total of 40 to 50% weight of the 40 to 50% of total body weight. So they form a bulk of our body. They form bulk of our body. But among all these muscles, skeletal muscles are the most abundant muscles. The most abundant muscles in the body are the skeletal muscles, right? In the coming portion, we are going to discuss about structure of the muscles and mechanism of contraction. You know, skeletal muscles are innervated by somatic nervous system. But these two muscles, skeletal and smooth muscles, are innervated by autonomic nervous system or autonomous nervous system. Somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. These two are the components of peripheral nervous systems, about which we will discuss in neural coordination and control lesson, neural control and coordination lesson. So skeletal muscles are under the control of a somatic nervous system. You know, somatic nervous system controls voluntary activities. You know, skeletal muscles are voluntary muscles. We can control them. But cardiac and smooth muscles are functionally involuntary muscles. Why I use it functionally? Cardiac muscle is structurally voluntary but functionally involuntary. But smooth muscles are structurally and functionally involuntary muscle. So involuntary muscles are under the control of autonomous nervous system. But both are the divisions of PNS, peripheral nervous system, right? Now skeletal system. The skeletal system protects delicate organs. It protects delicate organs and provide posture to the body and provide space for attachment of muscles. Space for attachment of skeletal muscles. You know, muscles cannot work without skeletal structures. Skeletal structures cannot work without muscles, particularly skeletal muscles, because skeletal muscles form bulk of our body. The most abundant muscles are the skeletal muscles. So they protect delicate organs and provide posture and also provide space for attachment of the muscles and helps in movement of body parts. You know, skeletal muscles provide movement of body parts with the help of muscles. So it is the system which transforms muscular movement into locomotion. Very important point. It is the system which transforms muscular contraction, into locomotion. The skeletal system has two components. We are discussing the introduction of this lesson, not original portion. The skeletal system has two components: axial skeletal system and appendicular, appendicular skeletal system. The axial skeletal system includes skull, bones of skull, bones of vertebral column, sternum and ribs. Sternum and ribs, you know, this is called chest cavity. The chest cavity is formed by anteriorly sternum, posteriorly vertebral column, laterally by the 12 pairs of ribs. So, sternum, ribs and vertebral column and skull bones, all these comes under axial skeletal system. But appendicular system includes limb bones, and girdle bones. Limb bones and girdle bones, you know, these are the limbs, forelimbs and hind limbs. Girdle bones, there are two girdles. This is pectoral girdle, this is pelvic girdle. Four limbs are associated with the pectoral girdle, but hind limbs associated with the pelvic girdle. First, movement. What is movement? So, movement is one of the significant features of living organisms, including plants. Plants and animals exhibit various kinds of movements. It is defined as any visible change in position, exhibited either whole body or a part of the body. So, the movement is defined as any visible change in position exhibited either whole body or a part of the body. It is one of the significant features of all living organisms. A human beings exhibit various kinds of movements like movement of eyelid, movement of tongue, movement of jaws, right, movement of limbs. These are the various kinds of movements, right? And streaming of protoplasm. Streaming means movement of protoplasm. You know, it is seen in unicellular organisms. Like amoeba. Streaming of protoplasm also a kind of movement. And one more thing, streaming of protoplasm, amoeboid movement. Ciliary movement and flagellar movements. You know, these are non-muscular movements. Amoeboid movement, ciliary and flagellar movements are non-muscular movements, right? Cilia, flagella, tentacles, pseudopodia also exhibit a kind of movements. Now come to locomotion. Locomotion is different from movement. You know, sometimes living organisms exhibit a kind of movement which involves change in place or location. If the movement involves change in place or location, is called as locomotion. Living organisms exhibit various kinds of locomotor movements, like, for example, take man, walking, running, swimming, climbing. These are various kinds of locomotor movements. Change in place or location is defined as locomotion. Are you understand? You know, there are some locomotor structures. Like cilia, tentacles, pseudopodia, pseudopodia. You know, these are the locomotor organelles in lower organisms like protozoans. Like protozoans, you know, tentacles, cilia found in protozoa, pseudopodia found in protozoa, but the tentacles found in hydra. For example, take paramecium. In paramecium, the cilia not only helps in locomotion, they also aid in movement of food through the cytopharynx. We have studied the structure of paramecium in locomotion and reproduction lesson, unit 5 in first intermediate. The locomotor structures not only aid in locomotion, they also helps in movement of food through the cytopharynx in paramecium. For example, take hydra. In hydra, tentacles are present. Tentacles not only helps in capture of prey, also helps in locomotion. And pseudopodia seen in amoeba. Pseudopodia not only helps in movement or locomotion, they also helps in collection of the food materials. But here you have to understand locomotor structures, in addition to the locomotion, they also helps in what is that? A collection of the food materials. Human beings also exhibit what is that? Various kinds of limb movements to change the posture of the body. We are using limbs to change the posture of the body, at the same time locomotion too. Our limbs helps in locomotion and change of body posture. Right? Why the living organisms exhibit movements or locomotor movements? What is the reason? The living organisms exhibit locomotor movements in collection of food materials, to escape from enemies, in search of suitable breeding grounds, in search of opposite mate, you know, female searching for male searching for female. So, living organisms exhibit various kinds of movements or locomotor movements in searching of food, to escape from the enemies or predators, at suitable breeding grounds and opposite mate. I think you understand, but finally we have to say that movement and locomotion are not two separate entities. Movement and locomotion are not two separate entities. But finally, we will say that all locomotions are movements, but all movements are not locomotions. Remember, very important line. All locomotions are movements, but all movements are not locomotions. You have to write this point in running notes. Okay. Now, types of movements. You know, there are three kinds of movements seen in human beings. The three kinds of movements like ciliary movement, muscular movement, and amoeboid movement. So, three kinds of movements exhibited by the cells of human being: ciliary movement, muscular movement and amoeboid movement. Yeah, let us go with the ciliary movement. What is ciliary movement? You know, the cilia present in the holovisual organs are lined by ciliated epithelium. The ciliated epithelium lines the whole organs like respiratory passages. Respiratory passages like trachea. Trachea is lined by the ciliated epithelium. And reproductive passages. Reproductive passages like fallopian tube. Like fallopian tube. And ventricles of brain. Ventricles of brain. You know, there are 4 ventricles inside the brain. We have studied in first intermediate. There are 4 ventricles of the brain. These ventricles are lined by ciliated columnar epithelium. Ciliated columnar epithelium. The ciliated columnar epithelium also called as appendicular. Ependymal, so not appendicular, ependymal epithelium. The ependymal epithelium lines the ventricles of the brain. Reproductive passages, you know, the movement of ova through the female reproductive tract is a ciliated movement. Movement of ova. Movement of ova through female reproductive tract. The movement of ova through female reproductive tract is a kind of a ciliated movement. Ciliated movement. Sorry, tesnara. It's a kind of ciliated movement through female reproductive tract. Right. And come to your respiratory passages like trachea. You know, the trachea is lined by ciliated epithelium. The cilia lined the trachea helps in elimination of dust particles and unwanted substances which entered along with the inhaled air. The cilia lines the trachea helps in vigorous movements in order to eliminate foreign substances or dust particles which entered into the body along with inhaled air. So, respiratory passages, reproductive passages and ventricles of the brain are lined by ciliated epithelium. They show ciliary movement. Now, amoeboid movement. Amoeboid movement. Amoeboid movement also called as a pseudopodial movement. Pseudopodial movement. Amoeboid movement includes, very important objective, amoeboid movement includes actin, myosin and ATP. Actin, myosin, ATP. Amoeboid movement results in the interaction of actin, myosin and ATP, adenosine triphosphate. These 3 are very important for amoeboid movement. There are 2 important cells in human body. One is macrophages and leukocytes. Macrophages and leukocytes exhibit amoeboid movement. You know, macrophages are modified monocytes. Generally, these macrophages are found in tissues. But these are modified monocytes. Right? One example for macrophage. You know, in liver, there are macrophages like Kupffer cells. Kupffer cells are the macrophages found in liver. Modified monocytes. And leukocytes like neutrophils. Neutrophils example. Leukocytes and macrophages exhibit what is that? Amoeboid movement. And one more thing, microfilaments. Microfilaments are the cytoskeletal structures. These are the cytoskeletal structures. Play a very important role in amoeboid movement. Amoeboid movement of macrophages. Macrophages. So, microfilaments are the cytoskeletal structures. There are three components in the cytoskeleton: microfilaments, microtubules and intermediary filaments. So, these are the cytoskeletal structures, play a role in amoeboid movement of macrophages. Right. And next come to flagellar movement. This is from NCERT. The flagellar movement involves passage of spermatozoa or swimming of spermatozoa. The flagellar movement involves swimming of human spermatozoa. Right? And it also helps in maintenance of water currents. Maintenance of water currents in canal system. In canal system of sponges, poriferans. You know, water canal system we have discussed along with the diagram in Porifera phylum. The flagella, you know, flagellated coinocytes. Flagellated coinocytes lining the spongocoel or paragastric cavity. They help in maintenance of water currents in the canal system of the sponges. Right? And the flagellar movement also helps in locomotion. Locomotion of protozoans like Euglena. Euglena exhibit flagellar movement. Flagellar movement also helps in locomotion of certain protozoans like Euglena. Yeah, this is about flagellar movement. Ciliary movement completed, flagellar movement completed, and amoeboid movement also completed. But ciliary, amoeboid and flagellar movements are non-muscular movements, remember. Now, muscular movement. Muscular movement. You know, movement of limbs, jaws, tongue and eyelids requires muscular movement. The movement of limbs, tongue, jaws requires muscular movements. You know, the contractile property of the muscles used by the living organisms to exhibit various kinds of locomotor movements, because the muscles have contractile property. The contractile property of the muscles used by the various organisms including human beings to exhibit various kinds of locomotor movements. You know, the muscular movement involves a perfect coordination, very important objective. The muscular movement involves a perfect coordination of muscular, skeletal and nervous systems. The muscular movement involves a perfect coordination of muscular system, skeletal system and nervous system. In coming portion, we will be discussing with muscles. Muscles are the specialized tissues derived from mesoderm. Specialized tissues derived from mesoderm. Right? These muscles forms 40 to 50% of total body weight. 40 to 50% of total body weight. So, they form bulk of our body. Bulk of our body, you know, there are three types of muscles: skeletal, cardiac and smooth muscles. Skeletal muscles play very important role in locomotor movements. Right, now we are going to discuss about structure of a skeletal muscle. The most abundant muscles in the body are the skeletal muscles, right? This is the bone. This is the muscle. The muscles connected to the bone. Via tendon. What is a muscle? The muscle is made of with several muscle bundles. This is muscle bundle. The muscle bundle also named as a fascicle. So, a organized skeletal muscle made of with several muscle bundles are named as a fascicle or muscle bundle, right? Inside each muscle bundle, there are numerous cylindrical muscle fibers. Inside the fascicle, there are numerous muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are cylindrical structures. Now, one of the fascicle is taken out. So, inside the fascicle there are several cylindrical muscle fibers. One of the muscle fiber is taken out like this. This is muscle fiber or muscle cell. The muscle cell also named as myocyte. It is also named as the sarcocyte. Or myocyte or muscle cell or muscle fiber. So, bundle of muscle fibers collectively form the fascicle. What is this? Fascicle. Bundle of fascicles forms the entire muscle. This is entire muscle. Individual muscle fiber is covered by endomysium. This is not a new description. We have studied the structure of the skeletal muscle in first intermediate. Remember, once recall it. Endomysium. And a fascicle is covered by perimysium. But the entire muscle is covered by epimysium. Perimysium, endomysium, epimysium, these are the fibrous connective tissue layers. There are several bundles of fasciculi, and all these fasciculi intern covered by a common collagenous layer. All these muscle bundles are intern covered by a common fibrous collagenous layer is called as fascia. So, tendon is the dense regular connective tissue which join muscle to bone. So, entire muscle is covered by epimysium. Muscle is formed by a bundle of muscle bundles or fascicle. All these fascicles are in turn covered by common collagenous tissue layer called fascia. And one of the fascicle is taken out. Individual fascicle is covered by perimysium. It is a bundle of muscle fibers. One of the muscle fiber is taken out. Each muscle fiber is covered by endomysium. Inside the muscle fiber there are myocytes, myofilament. one of the myofilament is taken out. This is called as myofilament or myofibril. Myofilament or myofibril, right? Yeah, this is about structure of the muscle, right? Now we are going to discuss about individual muscle fiber. Now structure of a skeletal muscle. Structure of a skeletal muscle. Not skeletal muscle fiber. Skeletal muscle fiber nothing but myocyte muscle cell or sarcocyte. Inside the muscle fiber there is a cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is named as sarcoplasm. You know, study of muscle is called sarcology or myology. So the term sarco refers the muscles, sarcoplasm, and the entire myocyte or muscle fiber is covered by plasma membrane, which is named as a sarcolemma. Sarcolemma. As it is eukaryote cell, the nucleus is common. This is nucleus. The nucleus, near the nucleus, there are endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is named as the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum of a muscle fiber is named as the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which is the storehouse of calcium ions. Storehouse of calcium ions. You know, for muscular contraction, calcium ions are very important. So during muscular contraction, the sarcoplasmic reticulum acts as a source of calcium ions. So calcium ions are stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So it is named as storehouse of calcium ions. And come to the mitochondria. Mitochondria. The mitochondria of the sarcocyte or muscle fiber is named as a sarcosome. Sarcosome is the mitochondria. Right? So sarcosome is the mitochondria. Endoplasmic reticulum is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. The cytoplasm is the sarcoplasm, and the plasma membrane is sarcolemma. And the skeletal muscle fiber is a syncytial. It is a syncytial because there are many nuclei. These are the nuclei. All these are the nuclei. You know, multinucleate condition. Multinucleate condition is seen. The multinucleate condition is called as a syncytium. Syncytium means a multinucleate condition. An organized skeletal muscle fiber, one see the diagram. Yeah, this is simple muscle fiber. These are the nuclei. Remember, it is a skeletal muscle fiber. It is organized skeletal muscle fiber with multinucleate condition. See, this is a peripheral nuclei. What is meant by peripheral nuclei? Nuclei lies at the surface of the cell, just below the sarcolemma. Just below the sarcolemma. How this multinucleate condition is seen in skeletal muscle fiber? The skeletal muscle fibers are formed by the fusion of, these are formed by the fusion of embryonic Fusion of embryonic mononucleate myoblasts. Mononucleate myoblasts. In the embryonic stage, there are mononucleate myoblasts. Myoblasts are these are the precursors of Mugel fibers. These are the precursors. These are the precursors of Mugel fibers. Precursors of Mugel fiber means these are the immature cells of Mugel fibers. These immature myoblasts are forms into or develops into or changed into Mugel fibers. Matured Mugel fibers, but these are immature. The immature myoblasts are the mononucleate, which are seen in embryonic stage. So these mononucleate myoblasts are fused with each other and finally restore multinucleate condition in the skeletal Mugel fiber. Skeletal Mugel fiber is a cylindrical, unbranched, but multinucleate in condition. Multinucleate nature means syncytium. I think you understand. These are formed by the fusion of embryonic mononucleate myoblasts. Myoblasts are the immature Mugel fibers. Immature Mugel fibers. This is about structure of the skeletal Mugel fiber, or this is also called as anatomical unit of a Mugel fiber, right?